Tonight, on First at 9 this Saturday, the 8th of February 2025. A digital tomorrow. Technical discussions on implementing India's DigiLocker platform ongoing, reveals the Indian High Commissioner in Colombo.
Technical discussions on implementation of DigiLocker in Sri Lanka are ongoing.
Numerous initiatives aimed at bolstering Sri Lanka's digital public infrastructure underway. The promising vow. Minister of Public Security vows to end passport queues. Reveals plans to establish a Department of Immigration and Immigration in Jaffna. About Time. 6th edition of It's About Time Travelling History Museum opened in Galle. A unique look into Sri Lanka's remarkable history. Calls for competition. Introduce growth-enhancing policies through the 2025 budget to increase market competition, asserts financial expert. Urges the government to get rid of para-tariffs.
Chilo Dairy, Sri Lankawama Kiren Perata. ඔබේ විශ්වාසය දෙනු සෙන්සුරයින් දැන් ළඟමැති ෆාමසියෙන් ලබා දෙත හැක.
කණ්ඩ පරිස්සම් කරගත්තොත් අපි පරිස්සම්.
Asian Paints Causeway Aquasave වැස්සත් මට්ටුයි ගෙදරත් තිස්නේ.
This is Derana First at 9. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
Good evening and welcome to Derana First at 9. I'm Aditya Drisingha joining you live with the latest in Sri Lanka and around the world. Brought to you by the only Sri Lanka media network to rise to the pinnacle across all media platforms, recognized as the best by every survey and beloved by the people. Now in your top story tonight, Indian High Commissioner to Sri Lanka, Santosh Jha, revealed plans to implement India's DigiLocker platform, a secure cloud-based platform for storage and verification of documents and certificates in Sri Lanka. In a bid to broaden Sri Lanka's digital public infrastructure, High Commissioner Jha also revealed several other initiatives such as expanding the unified payments interface in India and Sri Lanka. Plans to implement these initiatives were unveiled at the BIMSTEC Digital Conclave, which kicked off yesterday in Colombo under the theme Building Digital Public Infrastructure for Shared Prosperity.
Sri Lanka's digital transformation is no longer an option, it's a necessity. Sri Lanka is on a bold journey to build a fully digital and cashless economy, ensuring that technology is accessible to every citizen, business and government service. While we focus on Sri Lanka's digital transformation, regional collaboration is key to success. I strongly believe BIMSTEC can be the driving force behind digital transformation in South and Southeast Asia throughout. We must integrate our payment networks like India's UPI, Sri Lanka's GovPay and Lanka QR, and similar platforms across the region to enable seamless cross-border transactions. It is crucial that protection of data privacy and strengthening cybersecurity through regional policies and best practices are also much essential. Digitalization is key to unlocking the economic potential of our region. Sri Lanka stands ready to work hand in hand with BIMSTEC nations to develop scalable DPI framework.
Sri Lanka is at a significant juncture in its economic and social transformation. We had the potential, but we never reaped the full benefits of it. And for a country to embrace technology, my view is you need a leadership who believes in it. Technology is going to remove the divides that we have in the society and give access to all in equal way. The only place digital can succeed is where the leadership believes that transparency is the way to go forward. Technological transformation is a must, and without that, I don't think Sri Lanka can strive any further. And we do have the opportunity. And we really don't want to reinvent the wheel. We don't have the bandwidth to do trial and error, especially what we lack here in Sri Lanka as entrepreneurs and industry. We have not used the power of industrial transformation, Industry 4. Our basics are not right, our processes are not efficient, and we are not willing to use data or we don't have data. So the digitization has to start everywhere.
Sri Lanka is the only BIMSTEC member state to have created a separate ministry to promote digital economy. I'm confident that this conclave will contribute to promoting cooperation among the BIMSTEC member states in this very important area of cooperation. The conclave underlines the importance of building digital public infrastructure for the BIMSTEC member states. Development and use of Generation 4 technologies would depend on how robust our digital public infrastructure is. BIMSTEC member states have indeed taken specific initiatives towards their digital transformation, including building their DPIs. BIMSTEC countries have recognized the importance of digital innovation as a key driver for their economic growth. The offer which India has made of assisting fellow BIMSTEC member states by conducting a pilot study to assess their requirements for introducing digital public infrastructure platforms. I would like to request Asia Group to put together a brief report on the conclave, highlighting specifically recommendations for future cooperation among BIMSTEC member states.
India is committed to lean on its DPI success story to fast-track means of unlocking opportunities and potentialities for the entire BIMSTEC region. A joint working group on digital economy has also been set up. Technical discussions on implementation of DigiLocker in Sri Lanka are ongoing. While UPI payments was launched in Sri Lanka last year for the ease of payments for Indian tourists, we are now looking at extending the use of UPI digital payments for the benefit of both countries. There is also interest for bilateral exchanges to garner learnings from India's GEM portal, PM's Gati Shakti digital platform, which is for coordinated and integrated development of infrastructure, and digitize customs and other taxation procedures with a view to establishing equivalent systems in Sri Lanka. I am optimistic that we will utilize this platform to add momentum to each of our countries' DPI journeys and further open new paths of progress for the BIMSTEC region.
පිරිපුන් ජීවිතයකට ඔබ සමගින් පෙරට Union Assurance.
Welcome to Cinnamon Life, South Asia's biggest entertainment hub, where awe awaits.
චන්දුරුසුමේ කාගෙන්ම අපේ සිග TV සඳහා සුපිරි ඩීල්.
Sadaharita Plantations Limited, celebrating 22 years of your trust.
Responsibility to look after our health.
The best nutritional supplement for diabetic patients with no added sugar. Maliban Vitagen. Stay healthy for a good reason.
Minister of Public Security and Parliamentary Affairs Ananda Vijaypala revealed plans to establish a Department of Immigration and Immigration in Jaffna as part of broader efforts to address the ongoing crisis linked to the issuance of passports. Speaking at a meeting yesterday, the minister stressed on the importance of restoring public trust in ensuring that passports can be issued in a timely manner. Meanwhile, Vijaypala also expressed confidence in resolving the persisting passport issue within the next 2 months.
Sri Lanka saw long queues in front of the Department of Immigration and Immigration during the last few months. The queues followed the failure of previous regimes to supply adequate numbers of passports to the public. As a result, an online passport issuance system was implemented under the incumbent president with the aim of clearing the backlog for passport issuance and removing the delays caused due to excessive demand. Despite the government's efforts, long queues continue to persist before the Department of Immigration and Immigration. Against this backdrop, Minister of Public Security Ananda Vijaypala engaged in a discussion with the officials of the Department of Immigration and Immigration yesterday.
දෛනිකව මේ පරිශ්‍රයේ නැත්නම් පාස්පෝර්ට් පරිශ්‍රයේ ඉදිරිපිට විශාල ප්‍රමාණයක් ජනතාව.
There are long queues in front of the Department of Immigration and Immigration at the moment. At times we leave this premises at midnight. On certain days we leave at 9 p.m. When I left this building at 9 p.m. yesterday, I saw a queue of people waiting to pick up their passports. Usually these folks remain here until the next morning. Accordingly, a decision was taken by the Cabinet of Ministers last week to increase the number of passports issued in total, while also increasing the amount of passports issued on a daily basis. The relevant decision was taken pursuant to a report submitted by an expert committee. Measures will also be taken to speed up the issuance of passports issued by the District Secretariat Secretariat offices. In addition, plans are also in place to establish an immigration and immigration department in Jaffna in order to ease the persisting backlog of passport issuance. The cabinet has decided to recruit new staff for the proposed Jaffna branch, with the recruitment proposal already submitted to the Public Services Commission. The committee decision is expected within the next 2 to 3 days. Subsequently, we will establish the new office in Jaffna, which will cater to public needs around the clock. This move comes in handy at a time where long queues for passports are still seen in front of the Immigration and Immigration Department. People no longer believe that they will receive their passports in a timely manner. They are currently of the view that it takes at least 4 to 5 months to obtain their passports. To that end, some people try to get their passports in advance in order to prevent any delays. Therefore, the new office in Jaffna will operate in 3 shifts, utilizing current government officers and retired trained officials to manage the excess demand. With all these initiatives in place, we believe that the persisting issues relating to the issuance of passports will come to an end within 2 months. Now, the Consumer Affairs Authority conducted raids in Peta today, where they took legal action against several traders who sold rice at prices exceeding the legal threshold. Meanwhile, several farmers in Ampara and Polonnaruwa claim that they are not ready to sell paddy at the minimum price declared by the government.
Special raids were conducted today by the Consumer Affairs Authority in Peta, Colombo. The Consumer Affairs Authority officials deployed undercover agents to detect traders selling rice at prices violating the controlled price. During the raid, officials took legal action against a trader who sold Nadu rice at a price exceeding the imposed limits. Officials of the Consumer Affairs Authority also took legal action against a proprietor of a store where rice was sold without price labels on the packing. A store in Dematakoda was also subject to legal action on the same charge. Legal action was also taken against a proprietor of a store on Old Yorn Street for selling Kakulu rice violating the maximum price imposed by the government. In the meantime, the warehouses of the Paddy Marketing Board were opened subsequent to the government's announcement of a minimum price for standardized paddy. Against this backdrop, farmers in Ampara have voiced their inability to sell paddy at the newly announced price, since the Paddy Marketing Board's warehouses in Ampara remain closed. Similarly, farmers in Polonnaruwa claim that they are not ready to sell their paddy at the minimum price declared by the government. Meanwhile, some farmers aim to sell off their stocks of paddy to private millers over government's reluctance to purchase paddy with a high moisture content.
වීවලට ලබා දෙන්න ඕනේ හොඳම සහතික මිල අපි ලබා දීලා තියෙනවා. පහුගිය අවුරුද්දට වඩා රුපියල් 15ක් වැඩිය මේ අවුරුද්දේ ලබා දීලා තියෙනවා. ඒ නිසා මේ වෙලාවේ වීවල මිල මදි කියලා කියන්නේ දේශපාලන උවමනාවල් වෙනුවෙන් තවම අපි ගොයන් කපන්න පටන් අරන් නැහැ. ඒ නිසා මේ ගොයන් කපලා වී ටික එන්න පටන් ගත්තාම අපි දීපු මිල තමයි හොඳම මිල කියලා ගොවියෝ ඉතිහාසයේ කියන එක අනිවාර්යයි. ගොයන් කැපෙනකන් ඉමු. පෙබරවාරි මාසේ 15-20 වෙනකොට අපිට බලා ගන්න පුළුවන් වීවල මිල මොකක්ද කියලා.
Fast track your career from O levels with eSoft.
Diabetol සීනි වලින් පරිස්සම් වන ඔබට අමතක නොවන පෝෂණය.
Prime Group ලංකාවේ ප්‍රථම වතාවට හඳුන්වා දෙන land leasing ලේසියෙන් මීටමක්.
Single 1111 up to 60% off from the 11th November to the 17th of November.
Kalani wire කිසිගින්නක් නැහැ.
කිසිගින්නක් නැහැ. Kalani Fire Shield Wire.
Now let's take a look at the latest political thoughts shared on the compensations claimed by President and former MPs in the fallout of the riots in 2022. The highest amount that the government valuers could afford was 2.5 million rupees. However, government valuers were summoned before a parliamentary committee and coerced into valuing the damage at higher amounts. They obtained their compensation by exerting pressure over valuers. Complaints have already been lodged in this regard. We have already taken steps to file those complaints with the committee to investigate allegations of bribery or corruption. The law will be enforced in that regard. Government valuers will come out with the truth on how these valuations were done.
මේ
මුදල් තක්සේරු කරනු ලැබුවේ මම
The government valuation department valued the damage as far as I am aware. If the government valuation was misdirected to secure higher compensation, I request the government to reclaim the excess amount and enforce the law against those who claimed hefty compensations. A probe must also be initiated to figure out the political party behind those arson attacks.
ඒ ගිනි තියන්න ආපු දේශපාලන පක්ෂය කවුද කියලා ඉස්සෙල්ලා හොයන්න ඕනේ.
මේ ගෙදර අවුරුදු 50ක් මගේ දෙමව්පියෝ
This house, which was built by my parents 50 years ago, was set ablaze. The people in this community know who set my house on fire. The police too mentioned those responsible in court. One arsonist was the JVP's candidate for the local government election. However, the law was not enforced against the arsonists. All of my mother's gold jewelry was stolen. I have photographic evidence. However, the law was not enforced. The entire country saw that there was incitement to violence at the temple trees. If the law is enforced against those responsible for inciting violence at the temple trees, will the President inquire from the Attorney General on the reasons for the delay in initiating legal action against Lanka and those responsible for the arson attacks and the destruction of property?
ජනාධිපතිවරයා නීතිපතිගෙන් කරුණු විමසනවද?
We have started to receive reports that some cited the loss of gems and jewelry to claim higher compensation. While most of their political aides suffered during the riots of 2022, the claimants enjoyed massive payouts. We will launch an investigation into these allegations. No one willingly set their own houses on fire. It would be better if Nalinda Jayatissa himself reveals who attacked the houses, who destroyed them and who set them ablaze. The violent political villains of the JVP were the arsonists who set property on fire on the 9th of May. Just as how Jayatissa revealed the compensation data, he should also reveal the financial data pertaining to the damage sustained by the temple trees during the riots. They have suppressed all discourse on the coconut and rice issues. They have also diverted all public discourse on the price of paddy. They also dragged down the topic of Mahinda Rajapaksha's residence for about 5 to 6 days. Now they have released a list of MPs who claimed compensation for property damage. They are suppressing all pressing concerns by releasing a new topic each week. Several issues loom over the public at the moment. They might have already planned a new topic to be released next week. Leader of the Sarvajana Bale, MP Dilip Jayavira, vows to move forward while uniting the divided nationalist camp. Speaking to the public yesterday, Jayavira highlighted that there is absolutely no justification for the destruction of homes during the riots in 2022. Jayavira further predicts a change in Sri Lanka's political trajectory within the next few months.
Leader of the Sarvajana Balaya MP Dilip Jayavira and members of his party visited the Jai Shri Ma Bodhi tree in Anuradhapura and invoked blessings. Sarvajana Balaya representatives led by leader Dilip Jayavira also visited the Ruanvali Mahasaya. Thereafter, the group called on chief incumbent of the Ruanvali Mahasaya, Venerable Italavatunu Bave Gnanatilaka Thera, and invoked blessings. Meanwhile, the Anuradhapura district meeting of the Sarvajana Balaya Alliance was held this evening at the residence of the party's Anuradhapura district leader S.M. Chandrasena. During the meeting, local government representatives who previously represented the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna were appointed as the divisional organisers of the Sarvajana Balaya by party leader Dilip Jayavira.
We were initially a part of the Sri Lanka Freedom Party. We later joined the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna. However, at the moment, we represent the Sarvajana Balaya Alliance. Although it is true that we have shifted political parties, our vision for the future remains unchanged. The incumbent government has unveiled compensation granted to politicians who had their houses torched during the riots in 2022. Who set those houses on fire? They are the ones responsible for this. The ones who ordered the arson attacks now complain about the compensation. These expenses would not have been incurred if the property was not set on fire. They don't understand this. A house is more than just a physical structure with walls and a roof. It is a palace for those who dwell within it. Some people in this country have failed to understand this emotional connection. Even at their peak, those people were only 3% of their population. When weighed against the emotional toll these families had to endure, the compensation offered to them over setting their houses on fire is insufficient. I had no intention of engaging in politics. However, I made this decision primarily because I witnessed the people of my camp being attacked during the people's struggle. We are not a camp that needs to suffer this way. I still remember those who suffered suffered back then. I wouldn't have stepped into politics if I had not watched those heartbreaking videos. We will not let this camp be split up again. We intend to join those who left this political camp and move forward. I firmly believe that this is a political distortion. We are just a few months away from toppling this government. Now, with the 2025 budget to be tabled in Parliament this month, CEO of JB Securities Limited, Murtaza Jafferji, highlighted the importance of rebalancing the country's tax regime by removing para-tariffs which are deemed to be against the interests of the people. Meanwhile, Murtaza also asserts that concrete steps are crucial in order to meet the tourism target set in place this year.
Most of the budget will probably focus on policy. The things that I would like them to focus on is growth enhancing policies. We need higher productivity driven growth. So any kind of policies that would drive productivity up. One of the most important things is to increase competition in the domestic economy, and in the tradable sector it is definitely trade. Now we have large amount of para-tariffs in the form of what is called a commodity export subsidy scheme. Cess or PALs are considered para-tariffs. They are not typical duties, and they're extremely high in Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka has an extremely protected trade regime that has benefited certain industries and industrialists. At the President's Forum for Business People, prior to him becoming the President, he himself mentioned a few privileged industries. The previous government gave a timeline of sunsetting some of these protectionist policies and replacing it with a broad-based VAT. I sincerely hope that this President, as the Finance Minister, carries through that process of rebalancing our tax regime by removing para-tariffs, which are highly distortionary, highly regressive against the interests of poor people, so that cost of living can be brought down and we can increase productivity through competition. The IMF did a governance diagnostics assessment that they highlighted 16 primary recommendations, and I sincerely hope that in the budget speech the President speaks about his intentions to fully implement those priority recommendations. Finally, tourism is a real sunrise industry. It is important that concrete steps are taken to ensure that we keep on building on what we will achieve in 2025, and let's enhance our offering by accelerating the completion of the airport, the correct kind of tourism promotion, and general hygiene factors like law and order, and ensuring that there is no civil conflicts so that tourists can come and enjoy our country.
The 6th edition of It's About Time Travelling History Museum opened in Galle, providing a modern way for Sri Lankans to engage with the country's remarkable history.
It's About Time, the Travelling History Museum opened its doors to the public in Galle after a successful tour across the country. The Travelling Museum offers a unique opportunity for the visitors to immerse themselves in Sri Lanka's rich and diverse history. The museum is open daily from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. until the 12th of February, coinciding with the Galle Literary Festival.
I understand that about 50,000 people have already visited this museum in 11 locations and 7 provinces. I'm also very happy to see that the government is actually continuing to work hard on social cohesion and national integration. We are very, very proud that we have supported similar initiatives in Sri Lanka over the years. We have supported different programs. We were doing some bit of a calculation the other day in my office, and we came up with a figure of 60 million euro, 62 million euro in fact, that we invested over the years on this whole issue of social cohesion and national reconciliation over the years. And this GO program is co-funded, as the previous speakers already noted. We are very happy to have the joint cooperation with the German government and ourselves. For me as a European Union official here, this is a very strong point, because this is exactly what the European Union also is, unified in diversity.
And the Travelling Museum was created as a space to facilitate open dialogue and reflection on Sri Lanka's past and the path towards reconciliation and healing. As a nation, we have long been engaged in coming to terms with our past, making sure that we never forget, acknowledge the past and learn from it. We believe It is our responsibility to contribute to similar efforts globally. And I am pleased to see how our joint efforts have been helped support initiatives that contribute to the building social cohesion in Sri Lanka. Germany is committed to continuing its support for initiatives that promote dialogue. We are also grateful to our continued collaboration with the European Union in this important initiative.
I think this is the novel experience for us, and it has a considerable impact with future. This project is associated with site visits, working towards storytelling, season and so on.
මේ තුලින් මම හිතනවා ගාල්ල දිස්ත්‍රික්කයේ ජනතාවට ඒ වගේම දකුණු පාර ජනතාවට අපිට විශේෂයෙන්ම ලබා ගන්න පුළුවන් බොහෝ දැනුම් සම්භාරයක් එකතු කරගන්න තියෙන හොඳ අවස්ථාවක්. ඒකට කාලය ලැබිලා තියෙනවා.
තාම වෙනස් විදිහේ අපිට බොහොම සමීපව ඍජුවම සම්බන්ධ වෙන්න පුළුවන් ආකාරයේ අත්දැකීමක් ලබා දීම සහ ඉතිහාසය පිළිබඳව අපිට තියෙන දැනුම අපි ඉතිහාසය දිහා බලන විදිය අපි ඉතිහාසයත් එක්ක ගනුදෙනු කරන විදිය ටිකක් වෙනස් ආකාරයකට යොමු කිරීම තමයි මෙතන ප්‍රධාන අරමුණ වෙලා තියෙන්නේ. ඒනොත් විශේෂයෙන් අපේ තරුණ පරම්පරාවට මෙය අලුත් විදියේ හිතන් අවස්ථාවක් ලබා දීම තමයි. ඉතින් මේ ජංගම ඉතිහාස කෞතුකාගාර වැඩසටහන ක්‍රියාත්මක කරන්නේ Search for Common Ground ආයතනය CHDM ආයතනයේ තාක්ෂණික සහ සංකල්පමය පාර්ට්නර්ෂිප් එකකින් තමයි මෙම වැඩසටහන සිදු කෙරෙන්නේ.
You're joining Ada Derana, Sri Lanka's most trusted news source. Now, beach cleanups along the coastline of Sri Lanka will commence tomorrow as part of the Clean Sri Lanka initiative. The initial phase will take place at Crow Island tomorrow at 8 a.m. under the patronage of Prime Minister Dr. Harini Amarasuriya. Meanwhile, several programs were carried out across the country today in line with the government's national initiative.
A cleaning program was organised at the New Manning Market and Fish Market in Paliaguda today, in line with the Clean Sri Lanka National Initiative. Meanwhile, another project was carried out to clean a heavily littered area in Bettumakada in the Kaluthura Municipal Council. In the meantime, a program to clean and paint the equipment of the Avisavela District General Hospital was held today with the assistance of the police. As part of a novel project under the Clean Sri Lanka National Initiative, beach cleanups are set to commence island-wide from tomorrow.
සුන්දර වෙරළක් ආකර්ශනීය සංචාරක ගමනාන්තයක්. මේ වැඩසටහනේ පළමු අදියර කාකදූපතේ මේ ඉරිදා උදේ 8ට අග්‍රාමාත්‍යතුමියගේ ප්‍රධානත්වයෙන් පැවැත්වීමට කටයුතු කරලා තියෙනවා. ඒ වගේම හෙට දිනේ දකුණු පළාතේ ඊට පස්සේ නැගෙනහිර පළාතේ උතුරු පළාත හා පුත්තලම දිස්ත්‍රික්කය ආවරණ වන පරිදි මෙම වැඩසටහන සංවිධානය කරන ලංකාවාසී හැම දෙනාගේම ඉල්ලනවා මේ කාර්යයට ඔබ දායක වෙන්න.
වෙරළ තීරණ ආසිතව තිබෙන අනවසර ඉදිකිරීම යටතේ ඉවත් කරන්න බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවා.
Clean Sri Lanka වැඩසටහනේ වෙරළ පිරිසිදු කිරීමේ මොන අවස්ථාවකවත් විකල්පයක් නොදී කිසිම ආර්ථික ක්‍රියාවලියකට බාධා කිරීමක් වෙන්නේ නැහැ. අපි බස් ප්‍රශ්නේදී කිව්වම සමාජගත කරන්න යම් යම් කොටස් උත්සාහ කරේ. Clean Sri Lanka කියන්නේ මිනිසුන්ට ප්‍රශ්න ඇති කරන මේ ආර්ථික ක්‍රමය පවත්වාගෙන යන එක නවත්තන ක්‍රියාවලියක් විදිහට එහෙම නෙමෙයි.
කන්න බොන්න තියෙන ආහාර වල ඉඳලාම විස සහිතයි. ඊළඟට ටෙක්නිකල් සිකියුරිටි යකඩ වල ඉඳලාම ප්‍රමිතියක් නැහැ.
අන්නේ ක්වොලිටි වල ඉඳලා මේ සියල්ලම ප්‍රමිතීන් වලට පවත්වාගෙන යන එක මේ වැඩසටහන යටතේ වෙනවා. ඔබතුමාලා අහන ප්‍රශ්න වල තුලම තියෙන්නේ Clean Sri Lanka ගැන නෙගටිව් හැඟීමක් තියෙන එකයි. මේ ප්‍රශ්නේ දිහා ධනාත්මක විදිහට බලනවා නම් අපිට ගොඩක් වෙලට උත්තර ලැබෙයි කියලා මට හිතෙනවා.
Now in your business news, the chairman of Japan's Nippon Foundation's Yohei Sasakawa met with President Anura Dissanayake today at the Presidential Secretariat. The president emphasized that the most crucial task of the government is to eradicate the country's rural poverty and expressed that this initiative would also lead to improvements in education. During discussions, chairman of Nippon Foundation Yohei Sasakawa stated that the foundation is committed to bringing improvements for public health, education and the welfare of the differently abled community in Sri Lanka. The president further highlighted that the government plans to initiate special projects aimed at addressing rural poverty, a vital task of the country's development agenda, while underscoring the importance of strengthening the friendship between Sri Lanka and Japan. Sri Lanka's official reserve assets recorded a marginal decline of 0.9% in January 2025 compared to the previous month. As per the latest data released by the Central Bank of Sri Lanka, total reserves stood at $6.06 billion at the end of January. The value depicts a decline compared to the $6.12 billion in December 2024, primarily driven by a 1% decrease in foreign exchange reserves, which fell from $6.04 billion to $5.98 billion during the month. The CBSL noted that this figure includes proceeds from the People's Bank of China's swap, equivalent to $1.4 billion, which remains subject to conditions on usability. That's all the news we have for you tonight. Thank you. Have a great night.